He better manage that money right, or he's in big trouble for his team and stuff as well. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. What's up? Have a fun day? Sell a lot of houses? List a lot of property? I love that. That's the kind of day we're looking for. Baby. All right. So, probably a short session today, except for those of you who are looking for me to kind of walk you through the first part of the PUA, which I know has caused some trouble for some people. So at the end, I'll kind of say goodnight, and if anybody wants to hang on, I'll walk you through the first step of that PUA application one more time, just to kind of get you to where you need to actually put in the app stuff. But before we dive into anything else, I wanted to start with a video that kind of made me a little jealous, I have to say. I'll just let you watch it and you tell me. You take some notes, because my guess is that this kid knows more than some of us do about the topic he's talking about.
King, it's a lot of suckers out here with their money, and you can't be no sucker out here with your money.
Bro, I ain't no sucker. Bet you I don't.
Okay. What's assets?
Assets are things that bring money into your bank account.
What's liabilities?
Liabilities are things that take money out your bank account.
Entrepreneurship is the act of becoming an entrepreneur. What's entrepreneurship?
Entrepreneurship is a process of setting up a business or businesses.
Taking on a greater than normal
financial risk.
What's an entrepreneur?
Entrepreneur is a person that organizes and operates a business or businesses.
Also taking on a greater than normal
financial risk.
What's financial mean?
Money.
And what's risk mean?
Chance.
Come on. What does it mean to own stock?
When you own a share of a company.
Come on. What's real estate investing?
Real estate investing is when you invest in a immovable property.
What's the two types of real estates?
Commercial real estate and residential real estate.
What's commercial real estate?
Commercial real estate is property for businesses and workspace, like an office, store, or land.
And what's residential real estate?
Property to live on, like a house, apartment, or condominium.
Come on. It comes with extra fees when you have real estate, you feel me?
Mm-hmm.
Daddy tells you how many times he pays his state property tax a year.
Once a year.
What's the type of maintenance fee?
Cutting grass.
Come on. What's HOA?
Homeowner Association.
And what comes along with that?
HOA fee.
Come on. And when it comes to the brokerage percent, what percent is that?
7.
Come on. What's equity?
Equity is the difference between what your business is worth minus what you owe on it.
Also assets minus?
Liabilities and debt.
Good job. What's credit report?
Credit report is like a report card letting you know how well you did by paying your money back you borrowed.
And how does credit affect your life?
The better you keep your credit, the more opportunities you'll have to get funding.
And what? Large purchases like?
A car or a house.
Come on. And always repay what you
owe.
Because if you owe somebody, that means you're in
debt.
And you never want to be in
debt. Because
that means you
owe somebody.
And we don't never owe
somebody.
Because that ain't what suckers do, period. Come on.
Yeah, man.
I don't know. Anybody else really impressed?
I'm adopting him.
I love that. I love it.
I want to take the class he took.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Right, and so just continuing our theme this week of being good stewards of money, right? And thank you to Adonis for sending that to me, because I loved it when I saw it. I think I've watched it 5 or 10 different times since you sent it, and I've been waiting for the right time to share it with you guys. And this week seemed like the right week, right? Because we're talking about money this week. So when we're talking about money, who better than a 10-year-old to teach us all the things he knows about money, right? Be honest, how many of you didn't know the answers to some of those questions, at least one of the questions that his father asked him, right? At least one of them you would have been like, well, it's kind of like, right? But he was right there every single time. I love that. I love it, I love it, I love it. What ahas did you get from listening to that young man? Come on, don't be afraid.
You're never too young to learn. Teach them at an early age. Why not?
God. Yeah, you want to change the way this country moves forward? have every single 10-year-old understand what that kid understands. It will change this country in a generation. What else, Mary?
I need to teach my grandson, is what I was going to say.
Yeah, indeed, right?
You take it for granted that they're learning it.
No, from where? Yeah. Me?
Yes.
Oh, that it's really kind of simple. We really overcomplicated, and that was it in a nutshell. Loved it.
Yep.
Come on.
Come on, that's right. I may have somebody type out that as a script, and I'll just pass it to you, so we can each just give it to our children and grandchildren and have them go. Because you know what, when that kid starts to work and he's 17, 18, 19, and actually starts seeing funds of his own show up, he'll know what to do with it. Unlike so many 18, 19, 20, 30, 35, 40-year-olds, right, who don't know what to do with it. I was having a conversation earlier about the conversation that we had this morning, and that was the difference between worrying about your income, right? My advice to everyone on this call is stop worrying about your income. Start worrying about your net worth, which can be driven by your income, but it's not, the net worth is the end goal. The income is not the end goal, because it doesn't matter how much you make. It matters what you do with what you make, right? Which is why when you use net worth as the goal, as the barometer for success, everything starts to change. All righty. So we do have 2 shift winners today. Your team leaders and your MCAs, I believe, are on a regional call, so I'm alone with you today. I have all to myself. And so here's our shift book winners for the day are Velma Taylor and Randy Lynch. Woohoo! Go shift, go shift. So know that those are available to you at the Market Center. You've got to dare to come back at least to the hallway of the Market Centers or the front porch of the Market Center at some point. So you might as well start dipping your toe in the pool now to come and get your shift books. Because I know at least where I sit every day, there's a stack of them. So you'll have to come and grab them. Hey, let's talk a little bit about that, shall we? Can we talk a little bit about the reopening process? Look, everybody got quiet. And so here's what I want to say about that. I don't have the plan for you yet. We are working diligently on that. And I will tell you that the rest of the staff is right now on a regional call talking about that process, because our regional operating partner owns Market Centers in Georgia. And so they're already back a week. And so Brian Fair is sharing all the things that he learned over the past week. And one of the things that I heard him say before I jumped off to talk with you guys is this, and I want to say this out loud because I think this is a really important foundation to whatever occurs in the next couple of weeks. Brian said that his experience in reopening the Market Center last week, with all of the different protocols that they put in place to have that done safely, he learned 2 things. He learned that not everybody feels ready. And the second thing he learned is that some people are so ready that they're a little reckless in terms of their behavior. So the point is, and I think I said this to you last week, as a community, we have people who are still really afraid, and we have people who are so ready to be out of their house that it's like, okay, the hell with whatever we got going on. We just got to get back to work and get this moving, right? And you have everyone in between. And the big challenge, And I want you guys, there's 60 of us on this call right now. I want you to start really thinking about this, because it will affect how this rollout, how this reopening plan actually goes. I want you to be really thoughtful about who you are, how you feel. Are you fearful? Or are you just frustrated and want to get back? There's no right or wrong answer to it. You just have to know how you feel, and then be ready and willing to be accepting, tolerant, and respectful of the people who feel the exact opposite of the way you do. And that's going to be the tough part. As you know, I found that Lisa Katz came to my house the other day to drop off some checks. And Steve was on the phone with her, and he said, well, why don't you come to the front door? And I immediately said, no, I think I'll go out to her. Now, Lisa has not left her house except to transmit in the last 60 days, right? What am I thinking is up there? And yet it seemed like the responsible thing to do for her and for me to meet her in the driveway, to have a conversation instead of having her come into my house. And I can tell you that I'm not a fearful person. And yet every once in a while I find myself making decisions that out of responsibility might seem like an overreaction to somebody else. So just start getting really ready to bring some patience and some like, I have to meet people where they are-ness, right? When you start coming back to the market center. Never mind that some of you, as I mentioned, some of you will think the rules that we put in place are too lax, and some of you will think the rules that we're going to be putting in place are ridiculously stringent. We're looking to do the best that we can to keep you safe and keep your businesses profitable, right? Those are the two main things that we're looking to accomplish. Understand, though, that the first thing that we're looking to accomplish is your safety and the safety of those around you. Second is keeping your businesses running and profitable. So I just wanted to put that out there as we get ready. You won't have clarity from us probably until this time next week about what that looks like and when. Do know, again, we're spending a portion of every single day getting that ready to share with you. The way that will work is that we will have a staff meeting around that plan first, and then we will share that plan with your ALCs and get your ALCs feedback on that plan. Make any adjustments necessary based on the ALC's feedback, and then deliver that to the entire agent body. So that's how that will roll out. Any questions, comments, concerns about what I just talked about? No? All righty. We all on the same page? All right. Excellent. All righty. So,
hey, Rick, really
yes.
quickly. I just found out my brother and brother-in-law had the virus,
Yeah.
but they never showed any signs. They didn't know. The only way they found out was through an antibody test. And I think my only fear is that many people think they're healthy, they're self-isolating, which they did, but little did they know they were both infected the entire time. And how they were infected, they have no idea because they took every precaution. And it just seems like getting into an environment with a lot of people who feel like, well, I've self-isolated, I've been highly prudent, but they could be carrying the virus. They just aren't showing any signs whatsoever, no temperature, anything.
Yeah, well, and the difficult portion of all of this, right, is that we do not have testing that makes this simple. It doesn't exist yet. I can't go out and buy 500 testing kits so that anyone who wants to come to the market center can just take a quick little finger prick test to tell whether or not they are as healthy as we might need them to be. And yet, nobody has that. So it's the idea of figuring out how we sort through not knowing, and so that's where a lot of these protocols are going to come into play. The Market Center will look different. Until there's a vaccine, the Market Center will look different. Just like everything else in your life will look different until this goes away. And that doesn't mean the governor's orders go away. It means until this issue goes away. And that doesn't happen until there's a vaccine, right? So again, just if you're a naturally intolerant person, I'm telling you this now because you have an entire week, probably longer, to start building muscles of tolerance, right? And recognizing that respect has to come first, and you have to meet people where they are, not where you are. You have to meet people where they are, right? And if we do that, our whole plan to reopen and get everyone back into a place of profitability will go smoothly. The second we have combativeness going on in the Market Center, it makes it a very, very difficult transition for everyone. So I'm just putting it out there. It's not the last time you'll hear it from me until we reopen, because I think it's really foundational to our success that we all take that attitude of tolerance and respect. Okay, any questions or any ahas from anything that you were on today? I know a bunch of us were on the Matt Levchenko thing at 11 o'clock. I thought he said some awesome stuff. Anybody have an aha or two they want to share with us? Okay, I'll give you mine, because I just, oh man, he said this and I thought, wowza. It's interesting that we played that video to start this session, right? One of the things Matt said was, if your kids gave you the same excuses that you give yourself, how would you coach them through those excuses? What steps would you take to help them over, under, through, around, whatever, those excuses that when you hear them are clearly excuses, right, to productivity or achievement that we give ourselves? I thought that was a really powerful statement, right? It's that look in the mirror. It's that accountability versus victim conversation. So I'm going to work on that this week. I'm going to work on how I would handle that at home. I'll come back to you with my answer, but I would encourage you to do the same, right? Encourage you to do the same. Or else there's a double standard going on in your world, right? And that's tough. He also talked about the version of accountability, right? When pressed on accountability, as a bold coach, he's constantly pressing people on accountability, right? So I hear what you're saying, and what if you chose to look at it differently? What if you were afraid of doing that and you chose to do it anyway? What if you decided that the absolute truth that you believe about expireds, what if you were willing to sit back and accept that maybe that's not the truth about expireds, right? What if everything you absolutely know for certain isn't as certain as you think? And he talked about when his experience in pressing people and being accountable, that he typically gets one of three responses. If there's not an agreement or a willingness to hear his coaching, he gets one of three things. He either gets anger, right? Pushback with anger. And I'm telling you this, not just for you to internalize it for yourselves, but I want you to think about what I'm saying when you're talking with your buyer clients, when you're talking with your seller clients, because these things manifest themselves when you're looking to coach clients through the decisions they have to make as well. So that he said there's three things that typically come up. The first is anger. People push back angrily, thinking that by being angry, you'll back off of holding that accountability firm. The second is emotion, right? People go to crying and emotion. And for some people, that is a defense mechanism that is read, please leave me alone. You're getting too close to what's going on really for me here. So I think I'm going to, hoping that the person who's pressing for accountability sees that emotion and gets frightened by it and backs off, right? He said, and the third version that I see is the, well, you know what? I don't have to take that from you. I'm taking my ball and I'm going home. And it's the people who just decide I'm out. Which really, when you think about it, is the worst cop-out of them all, right? Whether that be a buyer or a seller, whether it's you, whether it's someone you're looking to coach or help grow, right? And so I loved that idea from Matt today about those responses. They're just human responses, and they're the top 3 that he gets all the time. And so many of us, when we get that response, we either do one of 2 things. We take it personally, right? And we have to train ourselves not to take things personally, because it's not about you, it's about them. Or if we don't take it personally, we come at it from we have to fix their position, right? They're angry. Well, why would you be angry? I'm just telling you what you need to hear. You're crying. Why are you crying? Right? I didn't say anything mean or nasty. Right? Hi, Aisha.
This is Adonis's sister. Hi, Adonis.
Figured I'd give you a little platform there.
Hello.
Where's 7? We want 7. He should be doing what that other kid's doing.
Oh, he's coming.
All right. So take that for what it is, right? Just my 2 ahas from listening to Matt today. Even if you're not in the Bold Pivot program, I'm going to tell you what, there he is. All right, I'll have to give him a little spotlight. Hold on.
Say hi. Wait.
There he is. Hey, 7, what's up?
Say hi. Say hi. He just woke up.
Me too.
Okay. Thank you, Rick.
All righty. So even if you're not in that Bold Pivot program, dive into those Monday at 11 half hours with Matt, because I'm going to tell you what, they are so worth it. They are so worth it. I'm going to work on some of those conversations for the remainder of our week. All righty. It is holy Christmas. It is 4:54. Before I dive into just showing you the front end of the PUA application, I just wanted to ask, anybody have any questions, comments, concerns, anything they want to share or ask before we finish up for today?
I have something. I have what I said a couple of weeks ago had been suspended is now back with us. It's the cash flow investor product, where the cash flow on the investment property qualifies the payment. So you don't need personal income to qualify. So it is back. It's up to $1 million. It's 30% down. So they pulled back a little bit from where it started out, where you needed 10 to 20% down. Now you need 30, but it is coming back. So that's my ray of sunshine.
Wow. That is interesting and surprising at the same time.
It is. That was my aha for today.
Yeah. Beautiful. I love it.
Hey, Rick.
Yes, John.
Related to that, would you mind sharing your experiences so far with your tenants in terms of paying rents?
Yeah, certainly. I'll give you guys a quick sneak peek, because I am rewriting Wednesday to incorporate some of what's gone on in the last couple of weeks. My April rents were at about 75 or almost 80% of what they normally are. I did not see the fallout that I expected. We took very proactive action. My property managers were instructed to be proactive. Anyone they hadn't heard from by April the 1st, they were to call and check in and see how things were going. We asked very specifically, do you still have a job? Right? If you don't have a job, can you get something from your employer so that we know, we can put that in the file so that we know where you stand? right, with your employment. And for most of the people that they contacted, they were still employed. We have a couple who had lost their jobs. We offered assistance for them to help them file unemployment claims, because it's only a benefit to everybody if they're still earning, right? And so we were just very proactive about it, and the results showed up. Again, almost 80% of what I would normally expect ended up showing up, and I might see the other 10 to or so percent that didn't show up in May's rent, because a couple of them were just a little late. So when I got my owner distribution at the end of April, we were still waiting on a couple of April payments that they were expecting. Here's the short way of saying it. Anybody who was giving me trouble before all this is still giving me trouble now, right? That didn't magically fix that. And yet everybody who was doing everything they could to pay on time is still doing everything they can to pay on time. So I've been massively encouraged by that, to the point that we're kind of doubling down on trying to find things to purchase right now.
Great, thank you, Rick.
Sure thing. Anybody else? All righty. Well, so again, for those of you who already filed or you don't need any assistance, that is what we have for you today. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you again 9 o'clock tomorrow. Again, don't forget that we do have that investor seminar at 7 o'clock on Wednesday. We'd love to see you and your database on that Zoom call. Don't hang me out to dry, people. Don't let me start talking to myself. I do that enough throughout the day. I don't need to do it at 7 o'clock at night as well. So make sure you got people on there for me. And and so for those of you who are going to hang, I am just going to flip over to the unemployment site and show you how to get to the actual application, because there's a couple of you that were struggling getting there. And so I want to just show everyone one more time how to get to the application, because it's a little less user-friendly than we'd like. Have a great evening, guys. All right, so here's how. If you go to www.filectui, right, that's filectui.com, that brings you here. And when you go here, if you scroll down, you can see here is your red PUA button, right? So again, you have to do the blue one first, and it takes a couple of weeks for this to actually kick in so that you can then go ahead and do this. So if you did this yesterday, you can't just go back in and pop this out. As I learned this morning, right, somebody who did this about a week ago still has to wait for this to process through and get the official denial. And then you pop here for the PUA, right? So once that happens, when you click here on the PUA, you come here. The next thing you're going to do is, you see here on the right-hand side, there's this gray box, PUA Quick Links. Instructions and File PUA is where you want to go next. Instructions and File PUA on this page. When you click that, it brings you to a page with a whole lot of words on it. It's a whole lot of blah, blah, blah about unemployment. What you need to do is read it, because I think it's certainly interesting for you to read. When you get here, filing for the PUA, I encourage you to outline right from here these 6 steps, copy it, and paste it into an email or a Word document, because you can't get back here once you start going through the process, right? So I encourage you to copy these instructions and print them out so you can follow them once you're in. So this page, however, again, I'll go to the top. This page. All you need to do after you copy that is scroll all the way to the bottom, and you'll see this Continue tab at the bottom. You click on the Continue button, and that brings you to this page with even more words, benefits, rights, and responsibilities. So read through that sucker, and then understand that you have to scroll to the bottom and click Proceed to Reemploy CT. And when you do that, then you're finally at the spot where many of you are thinking that you start, right? But you do have to go through those steps to get here. And so if you've not done this before, if you've not been here before, you need to create an account. You need to click on Create PUA Account. This account is different than your state unemployment account. So don't log in with your state unemployment numbers. That's not what this is for. If you've been here, if you've never been here, the first thing you have to do is create your account. You need to then put this information in, tell them you're not a robot. It then brings you to another screen, which allows you to set up your username and your password, and then submit, which then brings you back to the, is there a back button? Here, let's do cancel. It brings you back here, and then you actually have to log in with your username and password. Click submit, and then once you're in, you start following the directions that you printed out from the previous page. Starting with going to a section where you have to verify your email. It won't let you do much else until you get a code sent to your email and you pop that code in. Once you verify your email, then you're set to go through the process and start filing the actual claim. The claim pages are only 2 or 3 pages long. It's not a big, long process. You'll need your 1099 from last year and or your 2019 tax return if that's already done. You do need to have it scanned and ready as a PDF to upload, because you will need to prove your income using one of those 2 documents. So have that ready ahead of time. Unfortunately, again, I can't get past here because I don't have an account. So if that's all I can show you. Any questions, comments, concerns about?
Rick?
Yes.
This is Jackie.
Yes.
I received a letter saying that instead of going to the red, I have to first go to the green one because I have to create in an account, like an account there. And then they said they're gonna send me some the Connecticut, I can't remember, Connecticut federal number, and then they will pay me for the day that I started submitted the first application, the blue one. So, and I did that yesterday, and I have to do every Sunday. I have to do it. They did not say anything about the red one.
Correct. So until you have you received a piece of paper in the mail?
No, just email.
Right. So until you get that piece of paper in the mail, which is your official denial.
Okay.
What you have to do is follow the directions that they gave you in the initial email.
Yeah.
And that includes going to the green button each Sunday before 11 o'clock, I think, at night, and updating your weekly claim. Yes, that is 100% correct, Jackie.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. What else? Anybody else?
What about if you filed and I didn't upload my 1099? If you didn't upload your 1099, I don't know if you can go back in and do it. Part of the reason to upload your 1099 is to show that you make more than what the minimum amount might have you eligible for, right? Because the PUA, you're eligible for $198 a week. The $600 for 4 months, $600 on top of that through July is the federal bonus on top of that. But the PUA, the max amount is $198 a week, until or unless you can prove that you made enough money that might increase that amount. And if you don't submit your income verification, like your 1099 or your tax return from 2019, all you'll get is that $198. I don't believe it prevents you from getting that $198 plus the $600. Again, don't hold me to that, but I don't believe, because I don't think it would have let you finish if it would have prevented you. But if you've made money, if you've made a decent amount of money last year, to show them that you did make that money and that your benefits could be higher, that's why you would do that. I don't exactly know the math on how they're judging that, and yet that is my understanding about why you would go ahead and upload that.
What else? Nothing? Everybody good? All righty. One last thing as we finish. Make sure that as you're filing for all this stuff, you are out there figuring out how to sell houses. Because all this stuff does not an income create. And all this stuff goes away, right? So be careful about I'm not saying don't do it. That please hear me. If you are eligible for it and you need it, I absolutely encourage you to go ahead and file. I'm not saying don't file. What I am saying is file and make sure you're spending your day figuring out how to list and sell more houses, because that's how you earn what you need to earn. That's how you move forward through all of this. That's how you build a business and take the opportunity that this is offering us and really have it prove to be growth. Go ahead, Jody, and then we're out. Whoops, hold on. There you go.
I got it. Okay, so just a question. What should we be filing for this if we've received PPP?
So great question. And this is my answer to that question. And I will go on record as saying that I am not an attorney, a financial advisor, an accountant. I don't work for the SBA. I don't work for the IRS. I don't work for anybody. I'm just some dopey guy who has a real estate license who gets to talk to you twice a day. That being said, the PPP, what you can file for both unemployment and the PPP. Neither precludes you from filing from the other. What you cannot do is collect from both at the same time. So let's say that your PPP was funded on May the 1st, right? You now are expected to use those PPP funds to keep your payroll. If you've filed for you as an independent contractor, well, you are your own payroll. And so you're now expected to use those funds from the government to keep your payroll going the way it would have been going had this whole crisis not occurred. While you're paying yourself those funds, you really can't also be having your hand out for unemployment funds. Mostly because when you're paying yourself those PPP funds, when you go to file your claim each Sunday night for unemployment, you've got to tell unemployment that you just wrote yourself a check for $3,000 or for $5,000 or for whatever amount of money you're utilizing from your PPP funds. That will invalidate you for that week, right? From your unemployment for all intents and purposes. So you can't double dip. You can do both, you just can't double dip. If you were using unemployment before your PPP got funded and you collect unemployment for the weeks that you're not paying yourself from the PPP, I personally have not read or seen anything that would preclude you from doing that. However, once your PPP funds start to kick in and you're writing yourself that check every week for 8 weeks, because your PPP funds are 8 weeks from funding, right? You've got to use your PPP funds in 8 weeks after funding. So if you have an employee, that you're using it to fund that payroll. If you are the quote unquote employee as an independent contractor, what I'm doing on one side of one of my PPPs is dividing the money we receive from PPP by 8 and simply issuing weeklies. So we were just funded on Thursday, I think. And so this week we'll start that, writing that out every single week, 8 weeks at a time, so I can prove to the government that I used it in the prescribed time period, and I used all the funds, and here's my backup for it all. Does that answer that, Jody?
Sort of. So the question is, so first of all, I have to say I am thrilled that I got the PPP, and I don't want to rock any boats, number one.
Yes.
Number two, I don't want to risk any kind of oversight or doing something wrong. That's number two. Those are the first and second and foremost. I'm just wondering, from the time this whole thing started until the time we got funded, can we collect unemployment?
My understanding,
Yeah.
based on everything that I've read and or haven't read, right? So my answer to that is, I believe the answer is yes, right? As long as you're not double dipping in any given week, I believe the answer is yes. Now, of course, if you received a paycheck, if you received a closing check that week, you also have to report that at that week that you earned money. And so that will reduce and or eliminate your benefits for that particular week. I have not seen yet, Kimberly was a perfect example of this. Is she still on?
No.
Okay. Well, hopefully she doesn't mind me using her as an example. I think she hasn't in the past, so we'll. Kimberly was a perfect example of someone who did have a closing check come in the middle of those of those 5 weeks between when this started, or 6 weeks between when this started and when we were doing her PUA last week. She got funded this morning retroactively. We can't quite make the math work simply because they don't give you an accounting of how the math was calculated, which is kind of a shame. And yet it does look like the week that she had her closing was eliminated, because they took those, you know, she had a decent closing. It was a 5-figure closing. So I was afraid that 5-figure closing would invalidate all the weeks because of the amount it was. It doesn't seem like it did. It seems like it eliminated just the 1 week that she honestly reported that she got paid, even though it was a higher number, and she still was able to collect on the other weeks. Now, what I will say to you guys, which is what I said to her, is if it were me, I would take most of that money and stick it in a bank account. Unless you are not eating right now, I don't know that I would use all of those funds to go and live your life, simply because it's unclear right now when they come back and say, hey, who was doing what with PPP, and you actually are a real estate agent, so you got paid this amount, but you collected unemployment. I don't know that at some point someone's going to come back and say, let's audit all this, and I just don't want anyone to get stuck. Do I think anyone's going to jail? No. Do I think that they might ask for some money back, depending on what the numbers look like? And they might. And so I want to just go on record saying, just be cautious around that, right? It's not a free for all. Remember, there is no such thing as a free lunch. That is as true today as it was on March the 13th. There is no such thing as a free lunch. So at some point, because you do all recognize, right, that all of this money that the government is spending, that you get to use some of it at this point in time, they have to make it back. So if we think that 2021 and beyond is not going to come with some massive tax reforms that will restructure how we pay taxes in this country to recover for the next 5 or 10 years from what we're spending this year, I think you're missing the boat. I think you should absolutely expect that's going to come back. So they're loaning you the money now because you're going to pay it back to them later. Trust me when I tell you that. Does that answer it?
No, that's great.
Marie.
I'm good. Thank
Good.
you.
You're welcome. Marie, hold on. I have to unmute you. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I'm just curious, what kind of money are we talking about? Is there an average one could expect to collect weekly?
So the PUA has a 198 a week number attached to it through July. There, if you're approved for the 198, I believe you're automatically approved for the additional $600 a week bump from the federal government, which makes the 198 a week $798 a week for weeks that you're not working, right?
Thank you. And it was the 1099 and what other copy from my tax return?
Usually your Schedule C. I would have your whole tax return. I mean, unless your tax return is 150 pages like mine is, I don't encourage you to do that. But if your tax return is 10 pages or less, I might just upload the tax return. For most of you, that's not going to be the case. So your Schedule C is probably enough, Marie.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? All righty. So guys, I know that it sounds like I know what I'm talking about. Please do note that so much of this, right? And I'm happy to answer whatever questions that you have. That's not my point in saying this. But if you're doing this stuff and you need questions answered and it's the middle of the night or it's the middle of the day and I'm on trainings or masterminds or whatnot and you can't get a hold of me, just note that a lot of the questions that I've been answering for you, I just Google the question and do some research, right? So it is all out there for you. And so if I'm not available, and again, that isn't in no way me saying, please don't ask me questions. I'm happy to learn it all and deliver it to all of us. Whatever you need, I'm happy to assist with. But if you get stuck, do just Google some of these questions, because for the most part, the answers are out there in some way, shape, or form online from, and take, when you do that, take information from places like SBA.gov, from IRS.gov, right? If it's just some hooly-dooly out in Colorado giving their opinion about what the rules are, I might skip that website, right? Go to real government-based websites and or attorney-based websites who might be doing some interpretive work for you. They're offering that interpretive work free online because they want to give you just enough so that if you get stuck, you call them, right? So the attorney stuff is usually pretty accurate as well. More than that, if you get stuck, just find me and I'll point you in the right direction. Anything else before we finish? If you would have told me 2 months ago that I would have had to become a shining expert on unemployment, I would have told you never in a million years. What a riot. See how much opportunity and fun this whole thing has offered. It's all about learning. Yay, yay learning. All right, guys, have an awesome, awesome evening. I'll see you tomorrow bright and early, 9 a.m.